they can redefine what success looks like for our tamariki. E te rangatira, nei rā te mahi ki a koe, nau mai, haere mai.
Ai, kia ora, Sherry. Kia ora tātou, ko Dwayne Grace tōku ingoa, he uri no Ngāti Parau, te whānau apanui me Ngaitahu. He rawe te kite i a koutou I tēnei wai, kia ora tātou. I'm here today to talk about the KMS or some of the technology that we've been developing within our group. The short kind of story to where this technology came from was a couple of years ago, I was pulled in to meet a tūmaki group from Ngā Kurewi. And at that time, they wanted to develop a student management system for kura. And when we had a number of different hui to kind of stress out what this would look like, it became clear that it wasn't a student management system that they were asking for, but rather a technology that was able to support the practice or the things that we do really well. So I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully you can see that. So kia ora Cherie for the introduction, and also to the Ako Pānaku team for coming to talk today. What I'm hoping to do in 10 minutes is to show you what we've been doing, and if there's any interest by kura, by schools, perhaps we could connect after this and follow up in a little more detail. So recognizing the genius in every child, that's like our catchphrase, but we think it comes across so much better in what we're trying to do by what Te Whare Huia had said in one of the reo wānanga, and that was kia mōhio ki te tōtara kei roto I te purapura, understanding the interests, talents and strengths of our rangatahi. So I've got 10 minutes, probably 8.5 now. I wanted to quickly share a video that kind of gives a picture of what this KMS technology looks like. Touch on a few of the takeouts, what really is kind of different about this technology, highlight some of the versions and why some of these versions were created, and then just open it up to questions. And again, if there's anyone that wants to have a kōrero after this, I'm happy to take that up as well. So here's a short video explaining what this technology is about. And I remember the kōrero really clearly with this tūmaki group. And after it had all been decided that we needed a technology that supported our practice, that could identify those interests, talents and strengths, it was as much about taking what is traditional schooling and not so much breaking it, but again, developing technology that supports how we do things. How we do things in quite a unique way in kura, in schooling as well, but in particular what we've seen with the kura we're working with. So let's play this.
Traditional schooling is quite rigid and has a narrow definition of success. Students aren't always recognised for what they're good at. Let me tell you a story. This is David. He's 15 years old, has lots of friends, is a really good kid, and a dog named Max. Now, while he tries really hard at school, his report card never looks that flash. School, it's fair to say, is a daily grind. But David isn't your normal 15-year-old. You see, when it comes to cars, he can build them, fix them, and race them. He's winning competitions now in a car that he built, and with sponsorship he organised himself. The local motorsport community thinks he'll be the next big thing. David's mum and dad are his biggest fans, and even with all of the trophies starting to pile up, the thing they're most proud of are when people say, "What a great kid you've raised. Honest, reliable, caring and hardworking too. He's a star." And a genius. How many 15-year-olds do you know that can build a car? His parents know it, the community knows it, why doesn't his school know it? KMS recognises the genius in every child. It's easy to create a personalised learning plan for students like David. Creating individual learning plans isn't hard, it's smart. And focusing on a student's interest isn't cheating, it just makes sense. Flexible schooling has many moving parts. Timetables that can change, teachers that move between classes, projects made up of students from different year groups, and of course, learning that happens at home, or in David's case, at the racetrack. David has skills and abilities beyond his years. He's a great kid with good values and character. You won't find a single person that says otherwise. David and his parents want to become active participants in his learning. Learning that involves the student, teacher and whānau has real impact. KMS redefines what success looks like. It understands that students have their own individual interests, talents and strengths, that learning can happen in many different ways, and that it really does take a village to raise a child.
Sorry. So what are some of the key takeouts then? The KMS is built around this idea of being able to build personalized learning plans. And that doesn't matter whether, sorry, the learning happens within the school or at home. You're able to build personalized learning plans around subjects that are taken, activities. Waka is a good example with groups that we're working with now, or when there's different projects established or different themes that are set up. Again, no matter where they are, you're able to kind of model that in the KMS. Another key takeout is it's built around this idea of our ngā mātāpono, or our values and principles, are just as integral to this learning as the actual academic subject matter. And so a quick story there, when we're working on the beta version of the software, which is the first kind of release, we had 8 different reports. And when I say to different hui at different conferences, there were 3 pages in that report. The first page was the student name, school. The third page, sorry, was the academic part, whether it be NCA achievement unit, whatever that part happens to be. But the second page was almost without fail things like manaakitanga, the ability to look after others, always those personal kind of character traits. As well, this technology needs to be flexible, and we heard so many stories from kura ngā kaiako where multiple kaiako working across a particular subject on different days with different groups of students doing different achievement standards or otherwise. And of course, the fourth kind of takeout from that video was that it was really important this technology connects. It has to. It can't just be at the kura. It can't just be for a particular kaiako. It needs to connect. And so a really good example there is we're currently working with Ngāti Toa, or probably more specifically the Puna Mātauranga within Ngāti Toa. And the simple idea is that we're able to connect what's happening with the iwi education program with what's happening at the school, with what's happening at home. Now, these aren't earth-shattering ideas, but again, going back to that first hui with the tūmaki and kaiako, what we realized was that we didn't have a technology that could support this. And this is really what we have now. There are 3 versions of this technology. And the reason being is we started off looking to develop a student management system, which is our full version, and it's still there, and kura are moving to it in 2021. But what came out just as quickly from those kura that we started working with in schools was that some wanted a light version. They just wanted to pick it up and use it and run it alongside the other applications that they're using at school without the need to move a whole school or kura to this particular platform. And so light was developed for that reason. And then in the middle was standard. There's always a kind of third. So we put in a third version, and in particular for community providers, in particular for those other types of groups. There became a third version of the application as well. So the KMS Tech, I'm going to quick look at the clock. It's an application that started as a want for a student management system, but it very quickly got to a technology that was intended to support practice, that innovative practice that we see kura in schools. We ran beta last year in 2019. This year in our first major release, we're working with 20 schools, 20 kura and schools to the end of the year, with the idea that we look to work with a much bigger group in 2021. That's EDU and that's the KMS. Are there any questions?
He hui tēnei, nō reira mena he pātai wai. You can unmute your mic to ask Dwayne. I'm sure he's happy to just chat with you if you prefer to do that rather than post it in the chat box.
Tēnā rā koe, Dwayne. Thank you very much for taking the time to share the KMS system with our kaiako. If our kaiako who are interested in learning more about the KMS, what is the best way to contact you?
If you have the application, you can contact me through the Hui app, or alternately, our website is www.edusystems.com. .nz. And that's probably the easiest way to contact us. And again, we're currently working with 20 kura, and it's been really interesting. Like for us, the excitement is providing the technology to our kura and kaiako and having the feedback. And as a technology, like any kind of SaaS or software as a service technology, it's constantly evolving. So we release every 2 weeks. There's an update to this every 2 weeks. And those updates literally come from our kaiako voice. Again, now that we're working with the Pūnamaitauranga at Ngāti Toa, we're starting to see and get a real appreciation for how iwi are starting to work in the space. And again, the challenge is to be able to connect them together. So through the app, if there's an interest or accessing through the website, it's an easy way to find us. And actually, I'll throw the website address in the chat as well.
E hoa, if you want to get a hold of DUANE, just check out the chat function in the app. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of this quick 10-minute session.